At doing their own thing. Some people are really taking an entrepreneurial spirit to what they do for the companies that they work for. So really cool. So I'm gonna dive into kind of this mindset type of approach that I think will help you guys. So let's see if this works, because it's on Google Slides and not PowerPoint. Oh, cool. Okay, so I already talked to you guys a little bit earlier about who I am, what I do. I just wanted to share a little bit about the companies that I've worked for in the past. Just kind of show like this wide background, and then also tell you just a little bit about my story. So I've worked for Dialpad. Maybe some of you guys are familiar with them. They're a universal communications software platform for business phone systems. Ticketmaster, y'all know them, probably hate them to death with all those extra fees that are added on there. Rockbot was a media for business startup based in the Bay Area. Tribune Media Group, I actually got my start working in mass media conglomerates, working for the Chicago Tribune, selling classified advertisements to people back in the day. Not trying to date myself, but that was when I was in high school and college. Like, people would call in and place ads, and we put them in print. It was so weird. Who would do that, right? This was like before OfferUp. Also worked for a company called Vendini, which was acquired by AudienceView, which is a behind-the-scenes ticketing platform enabling playhouses and comedy clubs and concert venues to sell tickets. And then I also worked for the CIA guys. Not the NSA, so don't worry, we're not listening in. But I had an internship for the CIA back in college, and it was really cool. We actually got to run a multi-channel marketing campaign for CIA careers on our college campus at the University of Illinois. It was pretty neat. So I got to take a whole semester and actually work on that. And they actually offered us real jobs at the end. They're like, you guys were so great, we'd love to have you come work for us. And I'm like, do I have to go to basic training? And they're like, yes. And I was like, no, I'm gonna go work for the Tribune, which I got laid off. So what kind of ties all these roles together, and in some of the other ones I've had in between, is that I've had the unique experience of having tenures with companies where I've come into the organization and they've often needed this pioneer type of thinker. You guys have probably seen, like, even job descriptions, maybe when you were looking for your current job. You need a self-starter to really come in and make change. And you see a lot of these things where they really want someone who has the chops to be autonomous, the chops to get things done, to kind of cut through some of the red tape that might already exist in the organization and make change. And that's really what I've had the opportunity to do, which has led to this whole concept of thinking like an entrepreneur, treating what you do in an organization as if it's your very own. And so I was able to do this at a lot of the companies here that I've worked for. So what I want you guys to take away today is, number one, is how to harness the power of a scrappy entrepreneur. Number two, to overcome your new marketing challenge, or your product, insert product in there, right? Again, I didn't have time to update this. This was literally 30 minutes ago. I knew it was coming up here. Product marketing challenges. And then absorb tips on building marketing programs from scratch. Like, this is something that I think that we all as marketers need to be able to do, is go into an organization or have something kind of thrown to us that we weren't planning on, and be able to just go, okay, I got this, I'm gonna figure it out, I'm gonna use the resources I have available to me to be able to pull it together. And then also sharpen your communication, team building skills. I just think that an entrepreneur is a networker by trade. You have to rely on others, you have to rely on your village, and so just having really sharp communication skills is a big piece, and also team building skills, a big piece of being an entrepreneurial type of marketer. And then lastly, we're gonna tell you guys how to get started. Sound cool? Sound cool? Oh, there we go. Okay, cool. So what is a marketing starter? So my definition of what that is a marketer who applies an entrepreneurial mindset to all that they do. And product marketers can be marketing starters, generalists can be marketing starters, digital marketers, customer marketers, any marketer can be a marketing starter at the end of the day. But the way that I kind of slice it up or combine it is really, it's your one part marketer, one part scientist, and one part entrepreneur, and I will kind of tell you guys a little bit how those come together in a minute. So if you guys will join me and put on your entrepreneurship hat for a second and think about in your head what it means to be an entrepreneur. And I think this is one of the great things about the country that we're in, right? Is it's just a very entrepreneurial driven country. Most of the great companies that we subscribe to today were started in people's basements. And the country is run by entrepreneurs, small mom and pop shops. I mean, yeah, you got these big casinos, but then you also got the little stores and restaurants, and all those people kind of support that. So put that entrepreneurship hat on for a second and think about what it would be like for you to start a business from scratch. Maybe it's a lemonade stand, or maybe it's a great new tech company, anywhere in between, right? So when you think of entrepreneur, who do you think of? Maybe you think of this other really handsome bald guy. Does anyone know who this is? Yeah, Jeff Bezos, right? So I guess he and Elon keep going back and forth between richest man in the world, but I mean, Amazon 20 years ago was just a small company, and now we can't live without it. And because of recent events over the past few years, it's only accelerated their growth, but then they've actually taken a big hit over the last couple weeks, which is kind of interesting. But either way, maybe you guys think of him as an entrepreneur. Maybe you think of my local Texan friend, Elon, as an entrepreneur. Maybe that's who comes to mind when you're first thinking of him. Or maybe you're thinking of this guy. Anyone know who this is? Friend knows who that is. Where's all Americans at? Thomas Edison, right? It took him 10,000 tries, I believe it was, to find the right filament to get the light bulb to work. I mean, think about if he would have given up at the 9,999th time. I was like, I'm done. We wouldn't have these lights today. We wouldn't be able to have this indoor meeting. We wouldn't be able to have casinos because they want it all dark in here, right? Thomas Edison, maybe think of him. But then again, maybe you think of mom and pop. Or running that local store, the little grocery store down the street. Or maybe running the small e-commerce site that's powered by Shopify. So I think that there's a wide range of like who this entrepreneurial who this entrepreneurial type of persona is. And I think that no matter which one you think of or which one you aspire to or look up to, they all kind of have that one thing in common, that's that they get started and they make things happen. One of the big things that separates entrepreneurs from everybody else, or entrepreneurs from wantrepreneurs, as the great Mark Cuban often says it on Shark Tank, is that they do something, right? They take that step and make something happen, or they try. And that's what we can do in marketing too. We can step outside of our bounds a little bit and try to make cool things work. And as product marketers, you guys are like the quarterback of the organization. And I've actually heard quite a few speakers today saying that, like, oh, we're the central part of the org, and patting yourselves on the back. And while that's always great to do, I actually truly believe that too, because you are so integral and you're so tied into different parts that you almost have to have this entrepreneurial type of mindset too. Great thing, how small. Reach aspirational product marketing is really you're so entrenched in everything that's happening within the marketing org that you don't have a choice. You always kind of got that locked into the ground a little bit for yourselves. This group is sharp. This presentation probably like, I don't know, a dozen times. No one guessed Edison and no one guessed this garage. But yes, this is the garage where the Steves computer, $1,000 house now is probably, well, not in San Jose, but anyway, entrepreneurs do. Sure, some people have, silver spoons and they inherit something and then create something else or have spun off something. But most of us, most entrepreneurs out there, and people who can take this entrepreneurial spirit are coming from a very humble space and never forget where they came from. Most companies are started in garages, they're started in basements, they're started now in bedrooms and offices at home. We're all working from home. A lot of really cool stuff is happening from humble beginnings. I think, I can't remember the exact stat I read, but like the millennials and the Gen Z folks are super entrepreneurial. They're like, most of them are like wanting to quit their job and start their own business in the next year or so. So like, this whole great resignation thing, which we've all heard about, they're looking to do this thing too. They're like, I can start a business, I can do that. And so they have those aspirations. And then we also want to keep, entrepreneurs are also keeping their head in the clouds and always just be dreaming as well. So I think that these are just some really cool aspirations and things that we can kind of take to heart and understand, like, oh, what does it mean to be an entrepreneur in what I do? So the starter mindset. Number one thing that you guys can do is be fearless and don't ask for permission. That's totally like the American way. Like, oh, I didn't see the sign. Hey, there's no fishing here. What? Oh, I didn't see the sign over there, right? You do it without asking for permission first. So don't be afraid to step out. I mean, sometimes you might get, but if you don't take chance, you don't sometimes from change and be open people, and we've been on that track. Sometimes change is difficult. Maybe we've been working for the same company for a long time. Or maybe there's a certain status handle product marketing at, you're like, it's kind of difficult to kind of absorb that. You have to be able to be flexible in this industry, especially the way that everything is heading today, and how quickly stuff is changing, how much customers are demanding from us. There's so much that we have to do to be able to embrace that change, and then also be open to those new challenges that we can take on. And you want to consider yourself an outsider. This is that whole mentality of questioning the status quo. They say, this is the way we've always done it. We've always done it this way. You're like, oh, okay, no problem, we'll just do it that way, right? No, you gotta go, well, why? Why do you do it that way? If you take a step back, this is exactly actually why people hire consultants, because they're outsiders. There's a reason why there's an entire industry of consultants like me that get hired by companies to go, hey, can you come in and take a look at this? Because we're so myopic, we're so deep in this that we can't see outside of it, and you have an outsider view. Can you come in and tell us what we're doing wrong? But if you do that while working, that's one will be able to take on the starter mindset and make some changes happen. And then recovering quickly and listening to feedback, this is like entrepreneur 101, right? You're gonna try something new, you're gonna get kicked down, you gotta dust yourself off, get back up, and try it again, and then go, hey, what did I do wrong there? What can I fix to try to make this, this idea that I'm working on work a little bit better in the future? It's all about getting up and doing it again and figuring out ways for you to recover quickly and setting up processes for you to do that. And you want to focus on what matters, which of course, we all should know this now, is the human experience, right? At the end of the day, people don't do business with businesses, they don't do business with robots and chatbots, they do businesses with people, or they do business with people. So you want to focus on what matters most, which at the end of the day is that human experience. And that's something I think entrepreneurs get really well too, is they say, hey, look, here's this huge problem that people, that human beings are having. I can create a solution by focusing on what matters to those people and then build a business out of it. And it just so happens that maybe it's making $1 million a year or a month or a minute, but it's actually helping people in the long run, right? So if you're focusing on what matters, which is helping humans, you're gonna win. And then be ridiculously resourceful. I think this is one that if you were to pick any of those, which I've all kind of pulled all of those strings throughout my career, but the resourceful one I think is the one that's maybe closest to me, and that's coming into an organization and just like having no resources. Some of you guys might work for bigger organizations that, oh, you have a customer marketing department and you have a great creative team, and oh my gosh, you have a video production room in your office that you can go and get videos made. Oh my gosh, that's amazing. Every role that I've come into, they're basically like, okay, here's some duct tape, here's some chicken wire, go make this thing. And I'm like, what about a budget? They're like, budget, that's cute. No, just figure it out. Like literally, that's been every single role that I've had, which has led me to kind of mastering this or figuring that out. So it's all kind of come from that one where I've had to be really resourceful and go like, be like this whisperer and go over to the engineering team and be like, hey, so I kind of need this made to help with this new channel project I'm working on. Do you think you could do that? Here's a box of donuts. And they're like, yeah, I think I probably can give you an hour of time to make that work. You're like, cool, dude, thanks, right? So you have to kind of like whisper your way through the company and be super resourceful internally to make stuff happen. So that one's always kind of fun because it also just helps you build those interpersonal skills that we've kind of missed out on over the past year and a half. And then I love this little graphic because you guys have seen this probably about your favorite sports team. It's like, come on, do something. It's like poking your team, but it's me poking me. As a starter, you got to poke yourself. You got to be a self-starter, as the job description said at the end of the day, right? So you have to make yourself be motivated. You have to set yourself up for success. You have to set those reminders for yourself to keep pushing forward, get through the noise, and see that light at the end of the tunnel, that long tunnel that it takes to like build something new from the ground up. And that is like, again, one of those things that sets the entrepreneurial-minded people apart from other people. So the three-phase approach, this is something that I take when I'm either taking on a new project, coming in to help people with consulting, or I'm coming into a full-time role. And I usually say this to people like when I'm in an interview process, and they say like, oh, how would you like come into our organization? Like, how would you make this happen? And I say, well, this is my entrepreneurial approach that I take, and it's three phases. Number one is assess and investigate. This is something that you guys, this whole thing I'm about to explain, you guys probably already do this with your eyes closed, with blinders on. But I think it's something that it's great to be able to articulate to our customers, to our employers, our bosses, our future employers, whatever. So the first thing is assess and investigate. So I come in and I want to get a lay of the land. I want to understand how the marketing function is working within the organization. I want to actually go and I want to take a look and swing open the doors of the marketing closet and go, okay, well, that collateral's stale. Those T-shirts are eaten by moths and have the old logo on them. The sales deck, what sales? You don't have a sales deck? Okay, all right, well, okay. And then this kind of is where you step up to get your kind of gap analysis going. It's where you really wear your detective hat. Then the second phase is organizing and building. And so now that I have figured out, okay, what's the total lay of the land? What's missing? Now let's get all the people, let's get all the processes, let's get all of the systems and tools and all the things set up. Like maybe we want to venture out and we want to do this, what we just heard from in the previous session was about building an incentive program. Maybe that's they're missing that and you're like, okay, got to go find a great tool that's going to help with that, getting those things in place, and then starting to build the platform that then we're going to use to launch into our implementation and scale phase. And that's where we actually build all the systems, build all the tools, kick off our campaigns, kick off all of our new systems that we're trying to get rolled out, and then seeing what works, testing, iterating, failing and failing fast, fixing those failures, and then scaling it up, because that's what's going to make everyone above us happy. I heard a speaker, was it last week when I was in San Diego at another event? I think it was, she said that it's your job to make your boss look good, and it's your boss's job to make their boss look good, and it's their job, and it just keeps going up and up and up, right? And so I think that's where when we build a good foundation and we focus on scaling, it's going to help a lot with that. And so the first thing that I always try to do, coming into a new organization, new client, whatever, is really just learning the business. And if you guys are newer within your organizations, or even if your organization is looking to maybe go into a different sector or launch some sort of parallel product that is maybe new, and it has different use cases, really just leaning in and learning the business. And I think this is something that product marketers are super, super good at, right? We build those crystal balls to kind of see beyond what was talked about 2 sessions ago. So now I'm not even trying to remember, but we're talking about how the sales team has that view of this is what's happening now, but it's a lagging indicator. Oh, that was you that asked that question earlier. That was great. I was like, oh, that's awesome. It is kind of a lagging indicator. But the way that we can be on the front end of that is really just understanding the business, understanding the industry, all the intricacies of how the business functions, but also understanding of how we're going to market is a super important part of that. And that's something that, an entrepreneur, if they were out going to launch a business, they're not going to just say hey, I think this is a good idea. I think we need a cool sign like this. People are going to buy this sign just because I feel like it, right? They're not going to just go and all the tools work. They're going to do market testing. They want to make sure that money. And this is something I think you guys will love as marketers. And I actually heard this at a How Marketing Live conference in Boston. I think it was back in 2018. A speaker used this analogy, and I was like, this is so great. And it's this view that we need to see ourselves and also make sure that people in our organization see marketing as this too, that we are a laboratory, and that's so much better than a factory. A factory, you're just pulling a lever over and over and over, doing the same processes, never learning anything, pulling a lever, pushing a button, pulling a lever, pushing a button. And I think a lot of executives in a company sometimes want marketing to do this. They're like, no, just bring me the leads, marketing department. Just make this happen. Just keep doing the same thing over and over again. But marketing is a laboratory. We are wearing our full gowns like that. We've got our hairnet. Well, I don't have a hairnet. I don't need one. Some of y'all need a hairnet. And we're mixing potions to come up with the next great thing. And sometimes the lab blows up. Sometimes there's an explosion. But we clean it up, and eventually we come up with the cure to whatever great product marketing problem there was, because we're setting aside time. Our higher-ups have explored what we're doing in marketing. You're getting what you need to get done and getting people on your side. And then obviously good versus evil or bad marketing. This is all, I always akin this to that example, or that old adage of, behind every piece of bad content is an executive who asked for it. You guys have heard this before? Evil marketing. I worked for a CEO once, and he's like, we need to really do webinars. And I was like, yeah, we can do webinars. That sounds cool. It's a great channel. It's like 5th as far as like, channel penetration, but we can do webinars. He's like, yeah. And then we need to do one, not just one, but we need to do one every week. And we need to then segment that so we have 5 different versions of it for each industry that we're going after. And I was like, what? Are you nuts? And he's like, no. He's like, but that's what we need to do. And I tried to fight him on it because I was like, that's evil. I'm like, how are we going to invite people to it? He's like, we'll email them. I'm like, we're just going to email everybody every single week and expect them to attend the webinars. Guess what? The webinars did really great the first week. You'll never guess what happened the second. Right? That's selfish. Selfish marketing is evil marketing. And so remembering to do, because I'm good in your marketing. So we do it, focusing on creating wherever you can, trying to make what you're doing special as much as you possibly can. You're going to innovate like crazy. Again, the laboratory versus the factory. You have to build an innovation, budget it into what you're doing, and then be the master of hype. You're a marketing professional. No matter if you're in product marketing, marketing ops, customer marketing, whatever, we should all be masters of hype. Marketing owns the brand at the end of the day, guys, and we are responsible for caretaking for that. I have a firm belief that when I come in a new organization, that everyone in that organization, by the time I'm done with it, or if I work through this exercise, should all be able to say the elevator pitch of the company. Everyone. I should be able to say, what do you do? Oh, I work for this company, and what's that? And you give me the elevator pitch. You're in sales. I go to someone else in customer success, HR, boom, boom, boom. Everyone says the same thing. They should all be trained on that. They should all be able to be at the bar and have that same conversation. But that's only going to come from the marketing team, who needs to be the master of hype. So what can we do? Number one, own your business. Treat it, whatever you do, no matter how small your role is within your organization, treat it as if it's your very own. Pretend it's your company. Take a look at how the budget affects you. What you do affects other people within an organization. Treat it as if it's your own business. Number two, be comfortable with the uncomfortable. Because entrepreneurs are always like, they're always kind of itchy, right? Like, the world isn't just right. I need to come up with something to make it a little better. And if you think about that in marketing too, don't get comfortable in your seats, because the world is changing around you, so you have to be comfortable with the uncomfortable. Then you want to set yourself up for success. This is something that I think oftentimes, well, maybe for a while now, marketers have a hard time doing, especially when you're kind of being like this marketing explorer, this marketing entrepreneur. You have to find ways of actually tracking what you're doing and making sure that you're having great and clear communication with your higher ups, so that way they understand what you're working on and don't just see you as like, this frivolous marketing expense. And that's probably doesn't affect you guys as much in product marketing, but when you're doing strategy stuff, sometimes it does. And then remember is that fortune favors the bold. Always ask questions, be bold, put yourself out there, and that's how you're gonna win. And this is actually something I always, I tell my kiddo. She's 15, and I always say to her, I go, hey, Kayla, who does fortune favor? And she's like, the bold. And I'll say this to her when she's like, asking for something. We'll be at a restaurant. She's like, can you go ask them to bring me? I'm like, nope, you need to do it. You got to ask the questions. Otherwise, you're never going to get anywhere in life. So fortune favors the bold is a mantra that I live by, and I think that all marketing starters should live by. So thank you for sitting through this. Hopefully that was okay. No practice coming into it. Looks like we have a couple questions. So back to basics. How would you quickly describe what an entrepreneur does to someone who knows nothing about business? Say, like my mom. I would say, hey, Mom, you ever been to a lemonade stand? That's an entrepreneur. That's someone who is looking to change the world by building a business. That's kind of how I would define what an entrepreneur is. One question. Any other questions? Well, I hope that was fun. Thank you for indulging me. Glad I got to fill that slot. And I'll just plug my book again because it was all about that. So if you guys want to pick it up, that would be amazing. Right now, right on time, look at that. 49, 48, 47, 40. I'm just kidding. I'm not going to count down. Coffee break, 30 minutes. Back in here, and we'll finish up the afternoon with 2 more sessions, and then cocktail hour. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.